what's a good reason to cut off a country's internet access? How about dead fish in school exams? The internet is still a relatively young technology, and yet it's hard to imagine our world without it. So how would you feel if your country's government restricted your access to the internet? It's something that has happened several times in the past, despite the United Nations declaring that internet access should be unrestricted except in a few cases prescribed by international human rights law. And it may have happened recently in Vietnam, where it all has to do with pollution and fish. Since April, dead fish have been turning up in rivers and on shorelines. Many in Vietnam blame a Taiwanese company called Formosa Plastics. It turns out Formosa had an illegal waste pipe, but the company maintains it isn't responsible for the fish dying. The Vietnamese government required Formosa to dig up and remove the pipe. According to city government officials, the real culprit might be a polluted canal system coupled with heavy rains. But for 2 weeks, protesters used Facebook to organize rallies in major cities calling for Formosa to admit responsibility for the dead fish. Then, mysteriously, people in Vietnam discovered they couldn't access Facebook or Instagram. Did the government shut down access to Facebook to prevent further protests? As we record this episode, the answer is unclear, but many are assuming as much. Meanwhile, in Iraq, the Ministry of Communication shut down all access to the internet 3 times for 3 hours each. Why? To stop students from cheating on exams. Apparently, Iraqi schools have a problem with students bringing mobile devices into exam rooms. Cutting off internet access nationally wasn't effective, if excessive, solution. Perhaps this will mean the return of the old reliable method of writing answers down on the palm of your hand. Or maybe it will even lead to students studying harder for exams. But jokes aside, this policy impacts everyone in Iraq, not just students. And human rights advocacy groups like Access Now have spoken out against the strategy. Is it ever okay for a government to limit or remove internet access? We've seen it happen during contentious elections in Uganda, during the Arab Spring uprisings in 2011, and as a matter of general policy in China. What do you think? Get in touch with us and let us know. And don't forget to come back to now.howstuffworks.com every day to hear about the most interesting stories happening right now.